Welcome back to Let's Talk Race in Ireland. I'm your host, Harrison Paul. Today we're going to talk about a very unfortunate story. Young Daniel Anjorin was stabbed and killed in the UK today. A place called Hainault, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But I want to discuss, of course, how we can unpack this and for us to understand something and take something from this situation. It's very unfortunate what has happened to this young man, this young boy, 14 years old, has lost his life. Honestly, we can't even begin to really dive into the pain the parents and the family are living in right now, trying to understand why them, why this. And of course, a lot of us will not be as affected as the family will be, but I think we can take something on board in this time, and that is we obviously know George Nchenko was just his case was just founded as they were not going to investigate it or not going to prosecute the police who killed George because they believed that was the only option they had was to shoot George because they could not, get him, I guess, brand the knife from him and I guess de-escalate the situation. Now, what the elephant in the room here is the man who actually stabbed this young boy and stabbed other people was on a rampage. And I think it says 36, the suspect is 36 years old and he was arrested after a bloody rampage which saw 5 injured, including 2 cops. Which saw 5 injured, including 2 cops. I'll put the picture on the screen for you guys to see it. Whenever situations like this happen, the only thing I can think of is not actually how much. You probably think how much I hate white people. That's probably what you think, That's what people think. Oh, I hate white. Oh, I hate this world. Oh, I hate them. And we can talk about the fact that they actually didn't label him a terrorist, although it was an attack not just on, it was an attack on numerous people. My first response actually goes to the imprint that the white man has left on the Negro, that he cannot take his matter seriously and he no longer takes his oppression seriously. I think of all the people who think that talking about race is, not necessary. I think about all the people who are so selfish. I'm talking about black people when I say this, when they think it's just about their family and what they've gone through, and as long as their kids can get through college and as long as they can, succeed in certain things, it doesn't matter what other black families situations may find themselves in. It matters if it hasn't arrived at my doorstep. So as long as it has not arrived at my doorstep, to hell with the rest of black people. And what I love about white people is that something can happen to a white woman and the whole of Ireland or the whole of whatever area will match for that white girl. Will match for that white girl. But you, black person, are telling your fellow brother or sister to suck it up constantly. Suck it up. That's our portion. That's our life. And what I'm talking about here, to be specific, is the disparity. Watch how this man was branded. They were able to actually calm him down, de-escalate the situation. It may have been in 2 different countries. One was in the UK, one was in Ireland. In Ireland, I don't see any big difference in it. I'm telling you now, anybody who knows, lived in Ireland, lived in the UK, nothing actual majorly different between the 2 countries, unfortunately. Yeah, so this is the truth of it all. We're not in, I don't know, I guess America, the disparity and how police operate. It's very much alike. And we're watching George's life had been lost. And we're watching this man who will actually have the opportunity, the God-given opportunity, to rehabilitate his life. He may have been having a mental breakdown, but to rehabilitate his life, go to jail, sit in a cell for a couple of years, maybe a life sentence, hopefully a life sentence, and maybe even find God within that cell, and then hopefully rehabilitate his life from the cell. Sit with his thoughts, sit with his sin, sit with his mistake. Take it from someone who's made mistakes in my life. I'm not wishing death upon this man. I'm wishing that this man will actually get the justice that they deserve. And I wish that obviously black people would not be disregarded in his punishment. But the point I'm trying to say is, we see all over Ireland people were talking about how Jordan Shenko didn't deserve to live. We see all around Ireland how people were saying Luke Momo did not deserve to live. And here we see a man survived. I'm actually going to play a tape for you guys quickly that show other incidents where knives were branded from, these mass murderers, if I can say, or people who were on a rampage or wherever, and they managed to the police managed to maintain the lives of those people. But with George, it didn't seem as a necessity to maintain his life, to preserve his life. They showed up on the scene to kill. 6 bullets they let off and the man was gone.
Think about what happened to George and Kencho and the decision that was made yesterday. And then think about these stories that have happened in the last year. An hour ago, knife-wielding robber foiled by off-duty guard at a petrol station. A month ago, man pepper-sprayed by Gardaí after threatening filling station staff with large bladed knife. February, Sligo College video shows Gardaí arrest man wielding knife on campus. January, knife-wielding man robs bookmaker shop in Swords as Gardaí make an arrest. A month ago, 6 Wexford Gardaí feared for their lives as knife-wielding man went on vodka-fueled rant. January, man allegedly had knife at Portlaoise Garda station. September, man arrested in Mayo for barricading himself into supermarket armed with knife. And October, man previously convicted for chasing Gardaí with knives is charged with threatening to kill 4 more Gardaí. All those men are still alive. All those men had knives and were threatening to use those knives. All those men were white.
We've got a protest coming up for George soon. I'm happy and I'm joyful to see us when we can gather together and show that we have a standard for ourselves. White people really do show a standard for themselves. In fact, I will play the tape. After this tape, I will play another tape of something I seen on The Liberal. Forgive me, guys. I have a bad habit of following right-wing media. You got to at least know your enemy, right? Yes, theliberal.ie. They posted someone who may have been on a TV station, I think it was, and it was a white lady who was complaining about the treatment that they were getting on the protests they were doing in some place in Ireland.
Never been on a protest, and Casey's like, I'm traumatized by this. I haven't been back up to the protest since Thursday night. Like, I was standing there in the ditch. I saw them walk around and I saw them use their shields and force people off the road. Suddenly it was clear. I was up, so the road was clear. They had pushed them on up to the main gate, up to our camp. And I looked and I saw this man and he was...
I'm going to ask you just to be very careful now because, again, there is going to be legal proceedings around this. So.
No, there was a man on the ground after being forced, and he was lying there with his eyes closed, and I realised it was my father-in-law. And he was forced to the ground and hurt, and he had to get in an ambulance that night, and he spent the night and the day in hospital because of the riot squad. He was standing there peacefully protesting. He didn't do anything wrong. He is highly involved in the community, and he was forced to the ground. And that is not right at any level. There is people with bruises being pepper sprayed. Like, all they had to do was talk to us. That's all we wanted, was someone to speak to us. Like, that's all we wanted.
Okay.
And I couldn't help but think to myself, she was crying her eyes out and feeling sorry for herself. And I just said to myself, that's just typical of them, isn't it? They're not thinking of how these protests can affect us. They're not thinking of how these protests have a negative effect on our self-worth, which they do. Take it from someone who studies the minds of the African. It does. It causes us to be people who are beggy, causes us to be people who worship. It causes worship man. It causes people to be people who are submissive. It has a great effect on our flourishing of confidence and everything. And no, the average African doesn't realize the effect that this really has on him. This narrative that hovers over his head, that he should just be very careful before he gets put in that brown or black box that they put most of black or brown people. And you're lucky, you're lucky, you're different. And the dehumanization that happens to the African and the black and brown people. So she's crying and she's feeling sorry for herself and all sorts. And I'm like, wow, what a privilege that is. What a privilege that is for her to break into tears as though these protests are threatening her life or making a narrative around her existence very unsafe. You know, a narrative that is making life for her unsafe. No, actually, we should be the one crying. We should be the one. There's protests happening every week. And whether or not you think that these protests are for a righteous reason, I put this on my story. There is no sense of care on, let's be very intricate with how we go about this movement, because we do have black and brown people who we love, who we don't want to be in the crossfire. Personally, I think that we are not even going to be caught in the crossfire. I definitely think that it is there to disregard us. I know this. No one's going to trick me of this. I've had a few black people come to me and say, oh, you know, man, they don't mean it like that. No, I think human beings are smart enough to know. The same way black people, we are smart enough to know. You know how every time we say, not all white people, every time I'm fighting, black people have to come quickly tell me, not all white people, not all white people. We will kill ourselves for white people to make sure that they understand that, no, not all. But this movement has such a recklessness in it. Such a recklessness in it that you can tell someone is not taking into consideration. I have another tape I'm going to play, and it is of these people at a march in Dublin. And the one lady, she's just saying something it's really stupid, and then she goes on to say something quite racist. You can see the racism behind her little mentality there. And once she does that, the crowd laughs and agrees with her, and they go on. And there's two elements to this video. Element number one, she was chose to be up there and stand on the mic, meaning she's a representative for that movement. So that is the mind of the representative of that movement. Check this out.
We all know that the Ukraine crap is over. That's all washed out. And when the government are on the media, on the lying media, telling us that there's Ukrainian refugees coming in, who here believes there's Ukrainian refugees? They're from Somalia, Nigeria, everywhere. And they're all, I've never seen any really black Ukrainians, have you?
No.
So we want, the reason we called this here tonight is to make people aware. And we have a Facebook page where we put information up. And as I'm saying to you there, we have a video of inside, and we've been told that it's going to be one of the biggest in Ireland. Now, at the moment, none of the politicians that have backed us, none of the councillors, they're all talking to us, government saying, or telling us that they're waiting on us government to come back and give them information. I think we've all been filled, well, everywhere in the country has been filled. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah. What I want to say here, guys, is this. We as black people, when I take us back to poor Daniel, I don't want to forget him in this message, because it is revolved around him. We have to understand our responsibility as black people. We are the only group and community of people who think life is just to be lived. Every other community know when it's time to structure up and put together and organize themselves to get their way in the community. We have a slave mentality. You cannot say you have gotten a passport and you now live in Europe and you're now a citizen, and then with the same tone say you do not have, you are not going to exercise the rights that you have. This is not our country. But then why did you stay here for the visa then? Then why did you come here for the passport then? The passport says you this is your country. But you're just coward. The cowardice that comes from black people. That we will always find the easy way out. Oh, this is not this. Oh, that is not that. Oh, that is not that. Because it hasn't knocked on your door in a severe way. What about Daniel's family? What about Daniel's family who lost his life? What about them? What about George now having to look, George's family, Inchenko, Luke's family having to look on and say, oh, look, those are people who are deserved to keep their life because they're white. And you're constantly just thinking, well, as long as racism is not knocked on my door in an extreme manner, then I should abandon the fight that needs to be done and the work that needs to be done to push us forward as a race. I'm going to play another clip here of the assault that is happening on us. Look at the narrative that's taking place about it. Look at this.
Tell you now, let me keep walking, you little fucking kick you in the mouth, you little prick. I see you back here again, will fucking hang your head off a rail.
Can you imagine that? And let me show you what type of person is posting this.
Are trying to protect our nation. And look at what happened this morning. Gardaí, Dublin City Council, the HSE, taxi companies, bus companies were all aware of what was happening this morning. The only people who weren't told was the communities that these people were being thrown into. The government is...
I don't want to listen to what that guy says. All I want to make clear is look at the type of person that guy is. Had he not opened his mouth on this page, would you suspect what kind of way his mind operates? He owns this deliberately, it seems like. And this is what we have been trying to explain to people. Would you suspect this guy, Johnny lived down the road, has a good job? That's why the idea that it's the jobless, the idea that it's the type of character in the guy in the previous video, hard Dublin accent, inner city, no job, on the dole, is a lie. It's a lie. That can be a school teacher. That can be a school teacher. That can be a principal. Look at the setting he was in. That could be a principal. And I'm not talking to white people. I'm not asking you to tell your people to stop. Tell your people to keep going. I actually want your people to keep going. In fact, I want your people to be met by vigilant black people who are ready to fight. That's what I want. I don't want you to change. In fact, a lot of times, I'm looking, look, I'm going to give my secret here today. I'm looking forward. I wish one of these would try me. I wish one of these would try me. I wish one of these would try me. I wish one of these would try my kid. I wish one of these would try me. I want smoke. I want all of the smoke. I spent my whole life thinking if you be nice, you can fix it like this. If you be nice, you can fix that and this. I am not on that wave anymore. And I'm looking for black people in the community that we have to understand that it is time for us to take up a new tone. This tone, my brothers and sisters, comes only from someone who has equipped himself psychologically, not just gone to college to get any degree in what sorts and whatever. I mean, they have equipped themselves on that topic that makes you feel very awkward. Yeah, the topic of white people. The topic of our history, the one you want to forget and throw it away. The topic of neocolonialism, the one you think is old, it's long, it's forgotten. Yeah, that is how. Because when you understand this, you look at someone with this eye and say, how the heck is a criminal, a liar, telling me or looking at me as though I am someone who needs to civilize? What kind of, I'm destroying this person if I allow them to keep this dynamic with me in which they feel that they have the higher moral ground, even if they think, they are the natives of this country. They must know the history of their people, and they did right by their people, the higher ups of the Western countries, because they were very careful to leave out very important parts, particularly the Irish curriculum and Irish history. They do not speak about the relationship with Jamaica often. They do not speak about the slavery that happened there. They do not speak about the slavery that happened here on Irish soil, and they do not speak about the things that took place within Africa and their presence in Southern Africa. I'm going to put up on the screen again for anybody. I'm going to put up on every single episode because they try and tell me, they've been in the comments trying to tell me that you had nothing to do with it. Well, there you go, 50,000 Irish soldiers fighting against us getting our independence. Please do not try me. But my thing is today, guys, it hurts me to see this young boy has lost his life. It hurts me to see that the family are going to grieve. And it hurts me even more that black people just keep our heads down, accept rubbish, and just keep going. That's just, we are so desensitized to the disparity. Yeah, that's it. That's where he goes. That's us. That's our. I can show this to a black person right now. I can get you. Look what happened to this person. Yeah. Then yeah, okay. And they didn't arrest the white. They arrested the white guy, but killed George. Yeah. What you mean? Oh, that's That's what they say to me. You already know these people. We know how they are. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, brother or sister. I'm not gonna get too involved in all that because we already know what it's like. You've just settled it there. You may have one work friend or one or two work friends who are very nice to you, and for that reason, you are settling a whole entire movement that needs to take place. You're not supporting a whole movement that takes place. Oh, but if your white friend from work asks you to support and maybe come on a 10K run to support breast cancer for white women, or come on a 10K run to support safety of white women, you're going to be there. You're going to buy some running shoes. You're gonna buy some running shoes to show your white girlfriend in work that you one of them, that you down for the cause. But when your black brothers and sisters are looking for you to fight for justice, you alienate yourself. I am more disappointed in that. I'm more disappointed in that. I expect the battlefield. I expect it. I'm more disappointed when we look left and right and soldiers are asking, I'm not here to fight for black people. Why? Because racism hasn't knocked severely at my front door. The fact that black women are 4 times more likely to die from childbirth. Well, men are saying my wife hasn't died yet. Because, again, I'm going to bring that picture of that guy up on the screen. That could be your doctor. Look at the way he thinks. That could be your doctor. That could be your wife's doctor as you're giving birth, as she's giving birth. The very reason she didn't come out the other side. But that didn't knock on your door, knocked on another brother's door, huh? Or right now, I had to fight a case for a young boy who was being, unfairly treated in his school. And the man's gonna say, "Oh, that wasn't my door. It was another boy's door." Thank you so much for watching. Rest in peace to Daniel. Rest in peace to George. Rest in peace to Luke Momo. We will continue to fight everything on all fronts. And I do believe one day, by our own efforts, not because we improved our intelligence or improved our morality or, no. By tooth and nail, by uncompromising of our dignity, uncompromising of our standard, of our respect, our willingness to create enemies and sacrifice friendships for the respect of the black nation and its people and its children, the respect of Africa and her children, then and only then will we bring a balance to this earth. Until now, black brothers and sisters are way too comfortable with their newfound freedom. Thank you. And I'm on a mission for you.